Believe it or not, this movie features Tom Hanks in his first leading role. It's just too bad that the movie itself is pretty awful. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and on this episode I'm going to be talking about a movie that is just hilariously stupid. It's a cautionary tale that really tries to show the dangers of playing Dungeons and Dragons, but it just ends up being a great example of how ridiculous the moral panic over Dungeons and Dragons really was in the 1980s. Also, I wanted to mention this because if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons and you're also a fan of this show, you might want to check this out. There's a creative team called Radis Enchanted, and they've created a module that's compatible with D&D, but it also works on its own. It's called Strange Reels with Rick. It was actually inspired by the show, and there's some great references to some of the movies that I've covered. It's the first installment in a series involving a supernatural movie reel. It's got some really fantastic artwork, and they've even got a part 2 coming soon. So if you're interested in that, there's a link to the website in the description. Now, this made-for-TV movie is called Mazes and Monsters, and it's actually based off the book Mazes and Monsters, which was based off of kind of an urban legend, but I'll get more into that later in the video. The movie starts with a scene from later in the story where a lot of police cars and emergency vehicles are parked outside the Pequod Caverns, where a university student has apparently disappeared, and the police tell a local reporter that it's because a game of Mazes and Monsters got out of hand. Now, you may be thinking, okay, that's pretty ridiculous. But quite honestly, I don't think it is. I think games can get out of hand. Even board games. I mean, just look at Sorry. A round of Sorry can very quickly turn into a revenge-fueled powder keg. So now we're back 6 months earlier to see what led to that horrible situation, and JJ has just arrived home. JJ is an interesting guy. He likes to wear all sorts of different hats for some reason, and his mom likes to redecorate his room all the time.
It looks like a hospital!
Now we have Daniel, and Daniel wants to make computer games, but his parents want him to focus on just the computers and go to MIT, which is close to home. And Daniel's like, no, I'm going to Grant University and I'm making games, damn it.
Go ahead and eat your dinner. I've made all your favorites.
I love this. It's almost as if he's like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't like any of this shit. So back at school, I guess JJ is a cowboy today, and he sees his friend Kate, who asks if he's seen Daniel and that they need a 4th player for their group. And I will say this, having a friend who has an affinity for interesting hats could be very beneficial in certain situations where you're in a crowded place and you need to find your friend, like a concert or a party. That would be convenient. The only downside is people would be asking you all the time why he wears these crazy hats. And depending on the hat, he might not be a very good wingman to have. I mean, if you go to a party together and you're trying to talk to girls and he's got a, World War I German military helmet on, that might make things difficult. Unless the girls are really into history. And then in that case, he's stealing all your thunder. So you're pretty much screwed no matter what. And not in the way that you want to be. And now we have Tom Hanks' character, Robbie. Robbie is currently being reminded by his father to focus on his schoolwork and no more of these games.
And you've had too much to drink. Again.
Threats and accusations.
I hate it when you drink.
I drink to get through the day.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? What are you supposed to do? Just go through life sober?
I was a talented, well-educated woman.
Cat.
All my life it's been what you wanted.
This seems like a fun car ride. I can't imagine why Robbie would want to go off to college. I'm serious. Look, he's got all this free entertainment right at home. And by the sounds of it, the liquor cabinet would be stocked regularly.
And promise me you won't play that awful game anymore.
Yes, please promise us that you won't play that game. We don't want to feel like our son is some kind of a nerd. Do much more typical college stuff, like drinking and getting into fights. Be more like your father and I. So Robbie goes into the school where JJ is disappointed that no one has answered his ad looking for someone to play Mazes and Monsters. And I'm sorry to say it, JJ, but your ad is totally getting lost here. You're gonna have to use a different colored paper or something if you want it to stand out amongst all these other exciting activities, like guitar lectures and general meetings for the Religious Studies Students Union. But then he sees Robbie checking out the sign and he's like, holy crap, this could be the guy we're looking for. So he asks Robbie if he plays.
Listen, you play Mazes and Monsters? I used to, but I don't anymore.
Yeah, I used to, but I've recovered from that time in my life. You know, some people can just play casually, and that's great, but I can't. You know, that's the thing. That's how it starts. Yeah, it all starts by saying, oh, it's just one game. It's just one game. And then, before you know it, you're waking up in the gutter in a back alley asking strangers if you can roll their dice. Never again. So JJ says, okay, but you should come to my party tomorrow night. And Robbie agrees, which is a massive mistake, because do you know what parties are a hotbed for? That's right. Peer pressure. Robbie goes to the party where he meets Kate, another member of the group, and he tells her that he got kicked out of the last university that he went to. You may be asking, what happened? Did he get caught cheating on an exam? Plagiarizing? Vandalism? Did he attack a fellow student or professor? No. It's because he stopped going to classes. Why?
I played a game called Mazes and Monsters a little too much.
And the thing is, the idea that someone would stop going to school in order to play games really isn't that far-fetched. I actually knew a guy in college who stopped going to his classes because he couldn't stop playing World of Warcraft. So Kate is like, oh my god, he's a level 9 player, just the person we're looking for. Then she introduces him to Daniel.
Meet Robbie. He's level 9.
Hey, you gonna play with us?
God damn it, he's in recovery, can't you see that? He just told you he got kicked out of the last school he went to because of this game, and now you're trying to get him to play it again? Are you trying to ruin his life? But they managed to convince him to play one game with them, which, like I said, is always how it starts. And here we go, the game begins. Robbie says that his character is Pardue, a holy man. He's like a mage, he has all these magic spells. Robbie and Kate start dating, which of course means that Robbie continues playing the game with the group. And it looks like everything is going well as we see their relationship develop. Robbie is doing great managing his schoolwork and playing the game at the same time, so I guess that's the end of the movie, right? Of course not. You came into this movie expecting drama and a really stupid plot. Well, you're about to get it. Robbie reveals to Kate that he has an older brother, and 3 years ago, on his birthday, he just ran away to New York City and disappeared without any explanation. And Robbie keeps having nightmares about it. So while JJ is talking to his bird, he decides that he wants to kill himself, but he really wants to make a spectacle out of it. He wants people to remember him.
Maybe I should smash my motorbike into the dorm wall. I think it was just an accident.
That's why you always leave a note. Sorry about the wall, I'd pay for the damages, but I'm dead now. P.S. I totally meant to do it. So then he comes up with the idea of doing it in the caverns.
Boy genius, suicides in caverns. They talk about it forever.
So you're probably thinking, okay, this is going to be the movie, right? JJ's plan to off himself and the others are going to have to work together to try and save him, right? Not even close. Robbie takes Kate to his room because he's got a big surprise for her.
Oh, a double bed.
We can live together now.
Robbie, it's too soon.
Yeah, and I mean, a double bed? Dude, if you really want to impress her, you gotta get at least a queen. Anyways, during the next game, JJ suggests something new, that they play the game inside of the caverns. You know, that way it will feel more authentic or something. Or maybe this is part of his plan. Maybe he just wants his friends to experience the trauma of seeing their friend kill himself. So they dress up as their characters and go into the caverns where JJ just takes off and everybody has to find the treasure through a series of obstacles and decorations that he set up. Then he gives them a quest to find an herb, so they split up to go find it, because that's the smart thing to do in a cave where people have apparently gotten lost and were never found. Suddenly, JJ calls out that there's a monster, and Robbie actually sees it, but when the others arrive to help him, there's nothing there.
I have slain before.
Okay, so was he just acting, or did he really see a monster? No, I'm serious. I mean, JJ obviously spent a lot of time setting this all up. Maybe he slipped acid into their drinks or something before they left. Okay, so I guess that's the end of the whole thing. And as they're leaving, Robbie is really upset. Looks like he's feeling really guilty about killing a monster that didn't even exist.
I'm a holy man. I never kill unless I cannot overcome the monster with reason or spell.
So they drive home and Robbie is acting strange, as if he just can't break out of character.
Bless you all.
And by the way, that whole thing about JJ wanting to commit suicide, yeah, that's done. Over. I don't know what happened. I guess when he went to go do it, he took a look around and thought, hey, this would actually be a really cool place to play mazes and monsters. I think I'll live. And that's just the end of his depression and self-destructive thoughts, never to be mentioned again. The next day, Kate goes to see Robbie, and he's got quite the surprise for her.
Kate, I can't be with you anymore.
I love you, and I will always love you, but I just can't touch you anymore.
It's because of your dry skin. I'm really sorry to break this to you, but your skin is so dry. It is crazy. It is aggressively dry. I'm not exaggerating. It actually hurts to touch you. It's like sleeping with a cheese grater. I'm sorry. I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but just now when you came in and you hugged me, that felt like sandpaper being wrapped around my neck. I can't stand it. So I'm really sorry, but I just can't be with you anymore because I can't touch you. On account of the dry skin. We can still be friends, though. I guess it's a few days later or something, and Kate sees Daniel on his bike going into the caverns, and he tells her he was in there trying to find the treasure that JJ hid inside.
I was trying to figure out where JJ hid the treasure. My father would be thrilled.
Oh yes, I'm sure your dad, the one who doesn't want you involved with games, would be thrilled if you came home like, well, Dad, a friend of mine hid a fake treasure in a cave for our Mazes and Monsters game, and I totally found it. Did you ever find a hidden treasure in college? Yeah, didn't think so. Kate says that Robbie is going around school blessing people all the time and acting so holy, and Daniel is just kind of like, he's just staying in character every day, all the time. Non-stop. I mean, sure, he's a completely different person now, but I'm not too worried about it. So it looks like Robbie has gone missing. He's not showing up at any of his classes, and the others are starting to worry, so they call his mom, but she doesn't know where he is.
Has he skipped class before?
He's probably around here somewhere. Sorry to have bothered you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Ah yes, the one thing every parent dreams of. A phone call from an unknown person telling them that their child is missing, but they're probably around somewhere. Okay, bye now. I mean, holy crap, this lady already has a drinking problem. If her baseline is drinking all day just to get through the day, what is this situation gonna do to her? Just a keg in every room? So they go into Robbie's room and find a giant map he's been making, and they're like, holy crap, what if he started his own game? Or what if he went hitchhiking and got murdered? I'm serious, that's actually in here.
Maybe he was hitchhiking and got picked up by some maniac. You know, like that freeway killer in California?
So they go to the police and they send out a detective to talk to all of them to try and figure out what could have happened to Robbie. And the detective has a theory that one of the people that Robbie played Mazes and Monsters with killed him.
That's kind of far out.
Mazes and Monsters is a far-out game. Swords, poison.
And I have to say, the only way I see this theory being even close to plausible is if they were playing Monopoly. Monopoly is the game where I've seen the most arguments break out. And also, speaking from an adult perspective, Monopoly is the scariest game. It's much scarier than any fantasy game because Monopoly taps into real life scary stuff. Going bankrupt, taxes, sudden increases in rent, going to jail. You know, and I always wondered that. Why is that in the game? You know, just out of nowhere. Oh, go to jail now. What? Why? What crime did I commit? Basically being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Now that I think about it, that's a very real thing. That could actually happen. That's another one.
Battles, maiming, killing.
Hey, it's all imagination.
Is it?
Yeah, is it? Is it really? I mean, imagination isn't real, but don't the things that people imagine sometimes become real? At some point, somebody imagined a car, a plane, this shirt. Those all became real. So they're like, hey, Robbie's brother disappeared to New York. That must be what this map is. Robbie's in New York City. And they're right. I have no idea how he got there, but Robbie's in New York City, wandering around thinking that muggers are monsters and stabbing them. This goes on for a really long time. Robbie is totally convinced that he's Pardue. His friends travel there to find him, and finally they realize the map says the 2 towers. That must mean the Twin Towers. So they go there, and what a coincidence. Not only do they get there a few minutes before Robbie does, but it just so happens that they both went to the same tower. They see Robbie and follow him onto the roof, where he tells them he's going to fly using one of his spells, and then suddenly he snaps out of it.
JJ, what am I doing here?
So now you're probably thinking, okay, great, he snapped out of it, and that's how this story ends, right? No, it's not. So now it's 3 months later, and Kate, Daniel, and JJ go to Robbie's parents' house, where Robbie is still convinced that he's Pardue.
How's he doing?
Oh, he's fine. He's running back, getting some air.
And this is ridiculous. The mom is like, oh yeah, he's fine. No, he's not fine. The guy still thinks he's a f***ing wizard or something.
Glacia, has someone placed a spell of forgetfulness on you? I am Pardue.
He starts calling them all by their character names, and they're like, come on, Robbie, stop fooling around. But he's not fooling around. This is him now. Robbie's gone.
I've had many strange encounters since last we met. A great dragon.
So they're like, ah, crap, he's still obviously very sick. Well, we might as well start talking to him as if we are the characters in the game. Yes, let's encourage these delusions.
Pardue saw the monsters. We did not. We saw nothing but the death of hope and the loss of our friend.
We saw nothing but the death of hope and the loss of our friend. Yep, that's it. He lost his mind, and that's how the movie ends. Wow, what a great story. A guy goes to college, meets some friends, and plays a game that breaks his brain forever. The end. Now, like I said before, this story is supposed to be like a cautionary tale about playing Dungeons and Dragons, which just looks completely silly today. But the movie was based off the book, which was based off an urban legend about university students going into steam tunnels to play the game and dying. So where did that come from? Well, back in 1979, a Michigan State University student went into the university steam tunnels with the intention of committing suicide. When he ended up surviving the attempt, he went to a friend's house to stay for a while. His parents reported him as missing to the police and hired a private investigator. The private investigator learned about how much this student loved playing Dungeons and Dragons and suggested that maybe he went into the tunnels to play the game and became lost. The media took this and ran with it as fact, and it contributed to the moral panic over Dungeons and Dragons in the 1980s. But the funny thing about this movie is that the pieces of that incident that are used are very much secondary to the absurd notion that this story puts forth that playing D&D can cause someone to completely lose their mind and not be able to tell the difference between fantasy and reality. So not only does this movie have a really dumb plot, it has an incredibly stupid ending. But that's pretty much it for this one. As usual, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time.
What is it? Is it me, Robbie?
Okay, you see this? Extremely Dry Skin Rescue. I have been secretly applying this to your skin while you've been sleeping for the past 3 weeks. It has done nothing. I actually think your skin might be drier now. I don't even know how that's possible. You're like a mystery of science. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and, you're kind of groggy, and I'm just like, oh, what's going on? Am I sleeping next to a desert lizard? No offense. And that's the thing. I mean, it's clearly not an issue of the game causing Robbie to be this way. He obviously had some underlying mental health issues. I mean, this guy's having dreams about, his long-lost brother telling him to go on this quest. I wish my dreams were that exciting. My dreams are always really weird and bizarre, Sometimes they're annoying. Have you ever had that? I've had this a few times. It's a dream where I'm walking down the street in this neighborhood, trying to get out of the neighborhood. I'm trying to find my car, and I can never find it. And the neighborhood just never ends. So that's all the dream is. The whole time, just 8 or 9 hours of walking around confused.